Shalom, Israel. This is your brother Ananias coming to you again with another A.O.I edition of Telling the Truth. A little intro into Parenting 101, because it's very important and it's necessary that we, as a people, come back to the law, statutes, and commandments of the Most High God, using His word and His wisdom to help guide our people in the right direction. Because today, we follow the ways of the world as a nation of people. We follow our enemies. And because of it, you can see the condition of our people as a nation, as a neighborhood, a community, so on and so on, all the way down to the individual. So today, we're going to do a little class, a little session on Parenting 101 by reading the book of Ecclesiastes, chapter 30. We're just going to do a few chapters out of it because it's basically rooted in child rearing. So we're going to go back and forth, reading it and giving precepts at the same time. This is geared toward helping parents get a clear understanding as to what they're supposed to be doing. So from there, we're going to start reading the book of Ecclesiastes. That's in the Apocrypha. Those are the hidden books, or the books that were removed from the original Bible, from the King James 1611 with the Apocrypha. These are the books that were removed. You can find this book in your Barnes and Nobles, Books A Million, or you can order it online, so on and so on. Or you could just order the King James 1611, and it'll already have that included in it. But we're going to read out of it, chapter 30, and it reads, "He that loveth his son causes him oft to feel the rod, that he may have joy of him in the end." So the Most High is telling us, if we love our sons or love our children, we should cause them to feel the rod often, to have joy in them in the end. So today's society, or the world we live in today, they steer away from whooping the child. Even though the majority of us who were born in the 80s and on back, we were raised in a generation where we got our ass whooped. Our parents did not hesitate to whoop our butts. But this generation coming up afterward, they don't get that. Matter of fact, it's shunned upon, for parents to whoop their child, which is crazy to me. But you can see the result of that as well. You have a generation of kids that are raised or walking around with no respect for the elders, nor any respect for themselves, because the parents didn't take the time to raise them the correct way. Rather than doing what they're supposed to be doing, they put the child in front of the TV or the tablet or the phone and let the technology raise them. And because of that, you see how the world is turning out. So the Lord said, "He that loveth his child," or his son, I'll read it exactly how it's written. "He that loveth his son causes him oft to feel the rod, that he may have joy of him in the end." So let's get a quick precept to go along with that. We want to go to the book of Proverbs, chapter 13 and 24. This is the book of Proverbs, chapter 13, verse 24, and it reads, He that spareth his rod hateth his son, but he that loveth him chasteneth him betimes." So what that's saying is, he that spared a rod hate his son or hate his child, but he that loveth him gonna chastise him. So if you don't put the rod on your child, you telling the Lord and you telling your child that you don't love them, whether you know it or not. But if you love him, you'll chastise him. Tell him where he's going wrong. Punish him. Put that rod on him. They'll respect you more in the end, trust me. Because, like I said, I was born in the 80s, and all the people before the 80s and on back, they have memories and actual conversation where they sit down with their friends or their peers, reminiscing over times when they got their ass whooped. what they got their ass whooped with and the reasons why. And they'll sit there and tell you it made them a better person. So parents, when it comes down to dealing with the kids, make sure that you put the rod on them. Not just for the hell of it, but when they do wrong, put that rod on them. If you love them. But what is love? Let's go to 1 John 5:3 to find out exactly what love is, according to the Most High God. 1 John 5:3. And it reads, "For this is the love of God, that we keep his commandments, and his commandments are not grievous," meaning they're not hard. So if we love God, we're going to do what he tells us to do, which is cause our sons and daughters to feel the rod often, to get their butt whooped, to whoop them. That's a commandment, whether you know it or not. Cause thy son to feel the rod often. That's a commandment. We're supposed to whip our children. Don't let the enemy or the other nations tell you otherwise, or society or the media. Oh, we're not living in those times anymore. No, you need to whoop your child. Especially us Israelites. The Most High told you, if you read the Bible, he'll tell you throughout every book, through every chapter, how hard-headed or stiff-necked or rebellious our people are. So he knew they must be whooped. And he's telling you to whoop your child if you want to have joy with them in the end. Whoop your child. Don't spare the rod. I can't make this up. But let's go back to reading chapter 30 in the book of Ecclesiasticus, or what we like to call Sirach. This is the book of Ecclesiasticus, chapter 30, verse 2. "He that chastises his son shall have joy in him, and shall rejoice of him among his acquaintance." When you're doing the right thing by your son, or chastising your son, raising him the right way, as he gets older, you'll be able to socialize or brag, so to speak, or talk good things about your son as he gets older. You'll be able to rejoice of him among acquaintances, amongst your friends, amongst your families, co-workers, associates. You'll be able to rejoice when you chastise your son. Let's see what the Lord say to go with it, because we're going to go precept upon precept. So that's what we're going to do. Let's go to the book of Hebrews. It's the New Testament. Book of Hebrews, chapter 12, verse 6. Let's get there. This is the book of Hebrews, chapter 12, verse 6, and it reads, "For whom the Lord loveth, he chastiseth, and scourgeth every son whom he receiveth." So if you love your son, you're going to chastise him. You're going to punish them. Just like the Lord punished his children, his people, the Israelites, the so-called blacks, Hispanics, and Native Indians, who were scattered abroad, who were sold into captivity for their disobedience. For whom the Lord loveth, he chastened, and scourged every son whom he receiveth. His people, his children, he punished, he chastised, because he loved them. You don't believe it? Let's go to Deuteronomy 7:6, just to prove that the Lord only loves the children of Israel. This is the book of Deuteronomy, chapter 7, verse 6. For thou art a holy people unto the Lord thy God. The Lord thy God hath chosen thee to be a special people unto himself above all people that are upon the face of the earth. The Lord did not set his love upon you, nor choose you because you were more in number than any people, for you were the fewest of all people, but because the Lord loved you, and because he would keep the oath which he had sworn unto your fathers, hath the Lord brought you out with a mighty hand and redeemed you out of the house of bondmen for the hand of Pharaoh, king of Egypt. But I'm going to keep reading. Now, therefore, the Lord thy God, he is God, the faithful God, which keepeth covenant mercy with them that love him and keep his commandments to 1,000 generations. So the Most High loves his people, the ones that he freed from Egypt, from being bondmen, bondmaids, or bondwomen. He freed them from Egypt from being slaves. He chose them. You need to understand that. He didn't choose anybody else. So we got to do what he say do. But we're going to go back to Ecclesiasticus chapter 30, verse 3. He that teacheth his son grieveth the enemy, and before his friends he shall rejoice of him. He that teacheth his son grieveth the enemy. Who is the enemy? The other nations. The Most High tell you that. I didn't create that. I didn't come to my own conclusion. You can read that in the book of Deuteronomy, 28th chapter. When he tells you when you get off them slave ships, you're going to be sold unto your enemy. Not your friends, but to your enemy. Because your friend wouldn't sell you into slavery. But we can go to Deuteronomy 28 and 68 and it'll tell you. And when you get off these ships, first it said the Lord going to send you back into slavery again with ships. And when you get off them ships, you're going to be sold to your enemy. And ain't nobody going to be able to save you. So the Most High saying right here, he that teacheth his son grieveth the enemy. How does he grieveth the enemy? How does he make it hard for the enemy? Because if you teach your son who they are and what they're supposed to be doing, it's hard for the enemy to trick them. It's hard for the enemy to pull the wool over their eye. It's hard for the enemy to mislead them when you give them the proper and the knowledge that they need, the proper knowledge, the understanding as to what's going on in life. When you teach them the right way, thus saith the Lord, not what the world say. Go get as many women as you want. Had this girlfriend, had that boyfriend. Nah, ain't no girlfriend, boyfriend nowhere in the Bible. Nowhere in there is it telling you to go grind for money every day. Nor is it telling you go get the biggest car, the biggest rims, the most expensive shoes to try to boast and brag to be over your other brother. No, it's not telling you that. In fact, it's telling you the opposite. Telling you to acknowledge the Most High. That's what you need to be teaching your children. These days, our adults barely pick up and read the Bible. So you know the kids ain't doing it. They do whatever the child or whatever the parents do. So if the parents is always scrolling on Facebook, guess what the child gonna do? They're gonna be on social media, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, whatever else they got. Doing just like the father and the mother do. Say if you teach your son, it's gonna grieve the enemy, giving them an upper hand, putting them back in their royal status, back in rulership, giving them the true understanding as to who they are and not falling into the foolishness of what the world tells them and shows them. That's what we're supposed to be teaching as men, as fathers, as mothers, wives. It said, he that teacheth his son grieveth the enemy, and before his friends he shall rejoice of him. Before his friends he shall rejoice. They gonna rejoice because they know that's a good brother or a good sister. They gonna look out for you the right way. They gonna tell you when you're going wrong, even though it might hurt your feelings. They gonna keep you in line, thus saith the Lord, according to the scriptures, for your betterment, for the betterment of you and for the nation. Let's go back to Ecclesiastes chapter 30, verse 4. Though his father die, yet he as though he were not dead. For he have left one behind him that is like himself. So when you pour into your child like you're supposed to, it's like you never even left. You know, it's not just the way you look, but the way you speak and act. If you pour into your child the right way, it's like you never even left. You know, you still here through the Spirit, through the many lessons that you taught and raised the child in, according to thus saith the Lord. You know, train up the child the way it's supposed to go. Everybody heard that, but we're going to get it out the scripts. Proverbs 22:6. Let's get there. Give me a second. It's the book of Proverbs, chapter 22, verse 6. Train up a child in the way he should go, and when he is old, he will not depart from it. Everybody heard that before. But do we use it? Do we teach it? No, we've heard it. You need to be teaching these things. You need to be putting it into action. What is it? Practice what you preach. Yes. Put it in action. Train up the child. How do you train up the child? Let's go to Deuteronomy. You got to go to the Old Testament in order to find out what you're supposed to be doing in the New Testament for those who just want to live in the New Testament. Because one can't exist without the other. We need to understand that. Let's go to Deuteronomy 6 and 7. Now, I'm going to start at 1. Deuteronomy chapter 6, verse 1. Now, these are the commandments, the statutes, and the judgments which the Lord your God commanded to teach you, that ye might do them in the land whither you go to possess it. So in this chapter, it's talking about the commandments that you're supposed to be doing. This is the context of what we're talking about. So we're going to skip down to verse 7. And thou shalt teach them, that them is the commandments, should teach them diligently unto thy children, and shalt talk of them when thou sittest in thine house, and when thou walkest by the way, and when thou liest down, and when thou risest up. The Most High know how we are, rebellious, stiff-necked, hard-headed as hell. And one of the things that we teach our kids all the time is practice, practice, practice. But we practicing the wrong things, practicing and rehearsing the wrong acts. Trying to, if you want to get better at football, go out there 5, 6 o'clock in the morning throwing football, running sprints, running hills, running laps, shooting free throws. We do all this practicing for sports in hopes to be recognized or make money off of. But the Lord is telling us we're supposed to be rehearsing and practicing the good things, the good works. Teaching our families, our kids, day in and day out, teaching them these commandments. The commandments is life. Gonna give us understanding. We need to understand that. We cannot continue to keep following behind the traditions of men. We see where they got us. We struggling, still at the bottom. Still struggling, don't know who the hell we are. Still in captivity. Still the last to do everything, even though we the best at everything. Think about that. Raise your child the right way. Train them up in the way they should go. How do you train them up? You give them the knowledge they're supposed to have. Teach them who they are, according to the Bible, who God called. What God wrote out for you to do as a parent with the child. Deuteronomy 6 and 7 says, teach them when they rise up, when you walking in the house, to and fro, and before you lay down, so that all they thinking about is keeping the commandments of God. That should be the only thing really coming out your mouth. Keep the commandments and live. Keep the commandments. Keep the commandments. You should be asking them to rehearse them. Rehearsing these acts. Asking them, what does it mean? Teaching them day in and day out, showing them different examples. All the time. Not teaching them to do the new dance move or all these different ways at young ages how to get money, or dressing them like grown women and grown men, not having them smoking and drinking with you. That's foolishness. You're destroying your nation. You need to be raising the nation properly. Thus saith the Lord. You know what I'm saying is true. And you know, if you ain't been doing that, you see the results in your child right now. You see the results in our neighborhoods right now. You see what's going on. We do everything but read this book. No, I ain't in no cult. No, I don't think I'm better than anybody. No, I love my people. No one man is above the nation. I see the oppression. It make me mad. It pisses me off. I can't reach everybody, so I make videos to try to put it out there, put the knowledge out there. Thus saith the Lord. That's a commandment, actually. In Isaiah 58, 58 chapter, verse 1, telling us to cry aloud, lift up our voice, spare not, show my people their transgression, where they going wrong. Teach them, feed my sheep. That's what he told Peter. That's what Christ told Peter. If you love me, feed my sheep. The only way you can feed them is with the true understanding of the word. Most High said, man cannot live by bread alone, but by every word that floweth out of the mouth of God. Correct? Got to get the proper understanding. We can't just be listening to everything you see on TV. That ain't gonna get it done. TV is made up, put it that way. You know, but it says train up the child in the way that it should go. Teach them the commandment every day. Every day. Let's go back to Ecclesiastes chapter 30, verse 6. He left behind him an avenger against his enemies, and one that shall requite kindness to his friends. You say when you teaching the right thing, you left behind an avenger against the enemies. That's the same thing just read in verse 5. An avenger. That's what we should be studying and teaching and talking about, not trying to sit down and watch a movie or some foolishness that they put together. When you teach your child the right way, and when you pass, it's like leaving an avenger on your behalf against the enemy, and one that shall requite kindness to his friends. Return kindness to his friend. That's what the word requite means, return. Verse 7, he that maketh too much of his son shall bind up his wounds, and his bowels will be troubled at every cry. So if you making too much of the child, you putting him on a pedestal, he can't do no wrong, you trying to give him the world, you gonna worry yourself to death. He that maketh too much of his son shall bind up his wound. Can't make this up. And his bowels will be troubled at every cry. Every time that little boy got a problem, or that little girl cry, got a problem, you're going to have problems in your bowels. Your mind going to be troubled all the time, ripping and running. Think about that. Don't make too much of the child. Let's go to verse 8. An horse not broken becometh headstrong, and a child left to himself will be willful. A horse not broken becometh headstrong. Right here, they comparing the child to a horse that's not broken. When you don't break the child of the bad habit, you're going to become headstrong, hard-headed. And a child left to himself will be willful, to do things the wrong way. I put it that way. Willful to do what he want to do because he left by himself. Teach the child. Be in the child life. There's nothing more important than being in the child life and teaching them. We need to understand that. The world ain't going to tell you that. They're going to keep coming up with more and more crafted devices to keep you from teaching your child, from pouring into them. They're going to pour into them what they want. You think they doing you a favor. No, they doing everything but that. It's more crafty counseling to keep our people on the bottom. Because in the mind or the heart of a child is bound in foolishness. We're going to get there. Proverbs 22:15. Let's go to Proverbs 22:15. Why I keep going to Proverbs? That's wisdom. That's understanding from King David. This is the book of Proverbs, chapter 22:15. And it reads, foolishness is bound in the heart of the child, but the rod of correction shall drive it far from him. Foolishness is bound in the heart of the child. The heart is the mind. We need to change that mindset as well, Israel. Stop beating on your chest saying the Lord know my heart. He know your heart, all right, because the Bible refers to your heart as being your mind. And it just said in Proverbs 22:15 that foolishness is bound in the mind or the heart of the child. But the rod of correction, that belt, that switch, that paddle will drive it far from him. Don't be scared to put that rod on. The Most High told you to do that. So it's good. It's for your good. So that you can rejoice at that child at the end. If you love him or her. Think about that now. We're going to go back to Ecclesiastes chapter 9 or chapter 30, verse 9. And it reads, conquer thy child, and he shall make thee afraid. Play with him, and he will bring thee to heaviness. The word conquer, if you look it up, it means to pamper. So pamper thy child, and he shall make thee afraid. How you going to make you afraid? Well, think of it. The same way you pamper a woman, if you go to pampering a child, and they don't get what they want. Now they angry. They throwing temper tantrum. Now you afraid. Oh, they might do something. Oh, she might leave me. Conquer the child or pamper the child, and he shall make thee afraid. The child gonna make you afraid. I know some of y'all saying, oh, not them, not me, not mine. If the Most High said it, it's gonna happen. Because you putting too much, or you making too much of the child. You pampering the child. Stop holding their hand, everything that they do in life. They're gonna have to fall in order to learn that they can fall and stand back up. Stop holding their hand and walking them through everything in life. Give them the understanding so that they understand when they do fall, yeah, you will fall, but you will rise again. Give them the proper understanding that they need. It say, play with him and he will bring thee to heaviness. What does that mean? When you playing around with the child all the time, playing with them. Why? Why are you playing with them? You the parent. Be the parent. Stop trying to be the one playing with them, because when it's time to be serious, they ain't gonna know the difference between being serious and playtime. And it's gonna bring you to sorrow, to heaviness of heart, because you playing with them. Cut that out. That's what the Most High say. Ain't no point in that. Laugh not with them. I'm gonna go get a precept to go with that. It's in Ecclesiastes chapter 19, verse 29. Yeah. This is the book of Ecclesiastes, chapter 19, verse 29. A man may be known by his look, one that have understanding by his countenance when thou meetest him. So you'll know off the top, or that child should know by the way you handle business, you ain't the one to be played with. And that child will be known to have respect. A man may be known by his look, and one that have understanding by his countenance when thou meetest him. When you're dealing with a child, you got to set the tone early. You playing with the child, every time he see you, he ain't gonna take you seriously. He gonna end up disrespecting you. That's how you have some of them teachers getting ran over in the classroom because they trying to be the child friend. Can't do all that. You got to handle business as soon as you come in. Do what you're supposed to be doing. But we're going to go back to Ecclesiastes chapter 30, verse, let me see, 11. It says, give him no liberty in his youth. Now, you got to understand that the Bible be written in different, I'm lost for the word, but it's mostly written in a masculine tone. So when it's talking about him or he, when they say give him no liberty in his youth, it's talking about the children, the child. Give him no liberty in his youth and wink not at his follies. What does it mean to give no liberty? Give him no freedom in his youth. Don't let him run around doing what the hell he want to do. And wink not at his follies. Don't be, he said a cuss word. He threw something at me. He's funny. No, don't wink at that. Don't laugh at that. Look how he smacked on the bar. He wants to drink my beer. He wants to smoke. Don't laugh at that. Give him no liberty in his youth. Don't let him run around doing what the hell he want to do. Don't laugh at his follies. That's going to create that heaviness of heart in the end. Think about that. Go down to verse 12. Bow down his neck while he is young, and beat him on the sides while he is a child, lest he wax stubborn and be disobedient unto thee, and so bring sorrow to thine heart. So the Most High of Israel, of the Israelites, the so-called blacks, Hispanics, and Native Indian, he telling you, beat your child on the side, unless you want him to grow up to be stubborn and disobedient. Put that rod on him. That's what he said in the very beginning of this chapter. He that loveth his son causes him often to feel the rod, that he may have joy of him in the end. So when that child going wrong, put that rod on him. Don't shake your head and go talking to somebody else about them being wrong. Put that rod on them. That'll straighten them out. Didn't Proverbs 22:15 tell you foolishness is bound in the heart of the child? The Most High knows what's going on. He created everything. So why don't we listen to him? Bow down his neck while he is young. Hold him down. Put that rod on him. Put the understanding on him. Unless you want him to grow up stubborn and be disobedient and bring sorrow to thine heart. Verse 13, chastise thy son and hold him to labor, lest his lewd behavior be an offense unto thee. Chastise your son. Chastise who you love. You should love your son or daughter. Chastise him and hold him to labor, meaning make them work. Don't let them sit around all day playing video games and watching TV. They're going to grow up to be a sluggard, a sloth. Don't know how to do nothing. Make them do work. That's what the Most High is telling you. hold him to labor, lest his lewd behavior, lewd is the same thing as rude behavior, be an offense unto thee, whether it be with your family members, at school, in the community. It's going to be an offense to thee when that child lazy as hell, won't listen to nothing you say. Embarrassing. Let's get a precept for that. Let's go to Proverbs 29 and 17. Let's see what the Lord say about that. Proverbs 29 and what? 17? This is the book of Proverbs, chapter 29, verse 17. Correct thy son, and he shall give thee rest. Yea, he shall give delight unto thy soul. Gonna give you delight upon thy soul when you teaching them the right things, when you putting that rod on them when they going wrong. He'll be a delight in the latter years. Think about that. Most High told you put that rod on the side, correct? Let's go to Proverbs 23 and 13. Let's see what the Most High say. Some of y'all say, we can't live in that. That's the Old Testament. Let's see what he said. This is the book of Proverbs, chapter 23, verse 13. Withhold not correction from the child, for if thou beatest him with the rod, he shall not die. You hear that? Most High say, don't worry about that. Do what I tell you to do. He ain't gonna die. Don't withhold correction from that child. Verse 14, thou shalt beat him with the rod and shalt deliver his soul from hell. So parents, put that rod on your child. Beat him on the side. On the sides. He shall not die. Child will not die. That child gonna respect you, love you more as time go on. And they'll rejoice over the fact that you took the time to raise them the right way, putting that rod of correction on them. This is the 3 John chapter 4. Verse 4. I have no greater joy than to hear that my child walk in truth. The truth is walking in these commandments. The truth is the commandments. Christ said the truth shall set you free. When I see my child keeping the commandment, that means I did my job. And I know that going forward, he's going to teach his children. And that changes the future for the better. Not the fact that I taught him how to go get money, because he can go make money and still be an ass. He can go make money and have 15 kids with 15 baby mamas. He can go make money and be killing folks in the daytime or killing them at nighttime. You know? But if you teaching them, thus saith the Lord, you ain't got to worry about that. Because they'll understand who they are and what they're supposed to be doing. So in that, I hope you learn something. And I'm going to take it from there. Parents, 101, whoop their ass. Put the rod on them. Do what the Most High tell you to do. Read your Bible. Open it up. Find out what you're supposed to be doing as a parent, as a husband, as a wife, as a man, as a woman, as a teacher, as a leader. Gain your strength back. Get this knowledge. Get this understanding. Seek wisdom in all things. And that, I say shalom.